Now, there's no doubt about it that by far the most anticipated Star Wars TV show of 2023 is, of course, the Ahsoka Tano TV series for multiple reasons. Number one, it's going to have a lot to do with the Cosmic Force and the Force itself. And number two, it's going to have a lot of Jedi lore that's going to be explained and deeply involved in the story. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way, guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing about the Disney Star Wars universe is that Jon and Dave are really gearing towards making a lot of different changes to the existing Star Wars lore that's really going to change the perception of specific key moments in the Skywalker saga, as well as the entirety of the Star Wars universe as a whole. Now, when you look at everything related to Jon and Dave, and they said this before in the past, that for both The Mandalorian Season 3 and Season 4, there are going to be a lot of revelations that will be unveiled that are going to have saga-wide implications. And when they say saga-wide implications, they specifically said that they are not over-exaggerating this time. And I think that they were referencing what Disney had done with The Last Jedi when they used that exact statement of how The Last Jedi was going to have saga-wide implications, in which it really didn't at all, really. I mean, let's think about it. What kind of implications did it really have? Not much. It didn't really have a big impact on the sequel trilogy as a whole, or the entire Skywalker saga. However, what Jon Favreau recently had to say actually does raise an eyebrow as to exactly what both Favreau and Filoni are about to plan for the future of Star Wars as a whole when it comes to Disney Plus and more. Now, specifically, of course, on top of all of this, with many new Star Wars TV shows currently in the works between Disney and Lucasfilm, they are also focused on fixing and changing some of the existing Star Wars canon for the Star Wars universe. However, in a recent interview with Jon Favreau, he was eventually questioned about restarting some of the sequel trilogy canon using his upcoming Star Wars shows, and if that's something he and Dave Filoni are looking into. Jon Favreau went on to respond to the fans by stating the following: "So, yes, I mean, that is a plan of ours. We don't intend to just ruin the entire 3 movies and the lore, but we are absolutely focused on resetting some of the existing canon in those films, since we have some pretty big and exciting plans that are going to change history for these beloved characters. I really can't give anything away, but we are adding in new characters, and of course, I really can't give anything else away besides that, but we are going to have a big impact on how fans view the sequel trilogy movies. You know, I mean, it's a tough process, but we are trying to fix the flaws, if you will, in those films. We do intend to replace some of the canon in those movies so that it can make our job way easier with all these upcoming shows that we have planned, and we are going to do all of this in a very surprising way for the community. It was always my dream to work on Star Wars and to be here today and to try and fulfill fans' dreams. That just fills my soul. So thank you. But yeah, what we are about to do is going to have some pretty significant implications on the sequel trilogy by replacing some of the existing lore. Now, let me just pause right here for a second of what Favreau is saying. So, replacing the lore can mean a multitude of different things, alright? We already know that there's a lot of work being done on the Ahsoka series that's going to lend a lot of credit to that, and we'll get into that in just a second. But there's also Mando 4 that's going to have a lot to do with having major impacts on the sequel trilogy, and we discussed this as well a couple of days ago, and exactly how that's going to happen. Now, when you look at Favreau and Filoni, they're all about really kind of adding a bigger picture to the story. That's what they want to do. They're doing that with Grogu, they're doing that with Din Djarin, and having those big revelations about those characters in the next couple of seasons, and personally, I cannot wait. But this, or what they have planned to actually reshape the sequel trilogy canon and lore, is a very big deal, and it really makes you wonder exactly what they are gearing towards. Now, some of the things we already had discussed, but there's a lot more in store by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, and what they really have in stock for what's about to happen with the lore. So moving on. So he goes on to say, "We are trying to do this carefully because I know how easy of a franchise this is that can get screwed up if you make a minor bad choice, so we are thoroughly thinking this through and making sure it's going to really connect with fans." Separate from what Favreau said here, however, this all alludes to the big changes that are about to be made using the World Between Worlds in the Star Wars Ahsoka series, as well as a second season for the show that Favreau is pitching to Disney and Lucasfilm right now. Favreau is also set to add in characters such as Mara Jade and even the son of Luke Skywalker in the upcoming canon that will have a big impact on the sequel trilogy lore, as well that will be rewritten in the near future for the fans. Now, obviously, this kind of changes things. This really shifts things apart from what they intended to do originally with the sequel trilogy back in 2015 and what Favreau is doing now by throwing in pretty much all the major plot pieces of Star Wars Legends. That's going to reshape the fans' outlook on the sequel trilogy movies. So all of these changes are already being worked on also for The Mandalorian Season 4 that will explain said erased lore to happen towards the sequel movies by Disney. Favreau is aware fans have issues with the sequels and wants to make things right for the entire community as a whole to balance things out. So for The Mandalorian Season 4, there's already a lot of storyboards that have been pretty much finalized to be used in the script, one of which involves Mara Jade fighting against Luke Skywalker and eventually becoming one of Luke's allies. They are taking that big piece from Star Wars Legends and throwing it into the official canon. And you can see that they are setting things up slowly and building towards Luke having a wife or a love interest. And Favreau actually accidentally kind of revealed this a couple of months ago when he said how he really has been thinking about adding in a love interest for Luke Skywalker and that he couldn't say anything beyond that. So there's a lot of things happening between the storyboards for Mando 4, what's being done in the Ahsoka series while they are filming right now, and how Favreau is also pitching a Season 2 for the Ahsoka series to Disney executives because they really want to make that into a multi-season show to kind of make it like a live-action Star Wars Rebels, if you will, except enhanced. So I think that at the end of the day, there's a lot of things happening here between Disney, Lucasfilm, Favreau, and Filoni, and what Favreau wants to do, I think it may seem impossible, it may seem unreachable, but he's really taken the necessary steps to making it make a lot of sense, to make sure that it's going to feel very authentic, that it's not going to be shoehorned or thrown in there just for the sake of throwing it in there. He wants to make sure that this is really going to be a big deal for the fans and that it's going to change their outlook on the sequel trilogy movies. Exactly to the pinpoint what he is doing is very much a mystery, but we have discussed some of the handful of ideas that they are actually moving forward with that are also going to have an impact on the sequels as well. So overall, I think that at the end of the day here, there's a lot of things to be told in the Mandoverse, as a lot of fans call it, as well as the surrounding spin-off shows and how that itself is going to have a pretty big shot at reshaping how fans view the lore of the sequel trilogy movies. So, not just that, we already know that there's a lot of work being done on an extended cut of Episode 9 that's going to involve deleted scenes. They're planning to do that by the end of 2023 and updating it on Disney+. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But overall, guys, let me know what you guys have to say about this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Night to moon, we hear them moans again.